When did I start writing music? That's a, you know, I mean, when you write music and when you create your own music, it's sort of two related, but maybe distinct endeavors. When I first got an instrument, or even before I got an instrument, I was making up songs and thinking, musical, creative things. I didn't really start writing stuff down until 1968 or 1969, which is, yeah, something like that. I'm interested in a lot of different things, and I try not to be in my writing and in my playing and in my living, not hung up in by any I'm part of this school or I believe in this system. I try to really trust my own emotional reaction to things, and when I find something that I really like or love or moves me tremendously, I usually try to figure out a way to bring it, to understand it, and come to create my own connection to it, expression wise, and include it. So I've been inspired by so many different things, whether it was very early on when Ed Coleman's music, I was going to say Coltrane.
Go ahead, very early on.
Very early on, I could really hear Ornette's. I mean, before I could play, I felt like I could understand the logic in Ornette's music, where it was based from what I could perceive and what I came to understand. A linear approach of melodic ideas was something that I could relate to and try to emulate and try to have my own understanding of early on, because it seemed more organic or more natural than dealing with music that was more based on moving, functional harmony, where you're picking notes out of chords, so to speak, rather than the foremost being a line, a melodic line. I think that's even comes first. I guess rhythm comes first, but then the melody is very primal. I'm just talking about just creating melodies that are based on the evolution of the melodic idea, rather than the infrastructure of the harmonic structure of the tune. Rather, before that comes a melody. A kid will sing, do 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 do, or whatever it is, and not think about whether he just resolved it or created a cadence or whatever. I listened. I've never been listening to just one person. No. I listened. Always. Charlie Parker, of course, is the father of certain things and the grand master of certain things, and in terms of playing the saxophone, Ornette Coleman really comes out of that. Eric Dolphy comes out of that. Jimmy Lyons come out of that. And Train comes out of that. So those I listen to those people. There's different periods where I listened a lot to Duke Ellington when I was trying to think about writing for numbers of instruments to really understand about the tone, colors, and voicing, and what combining instruments, what kind of things can you do? I mean, Duke, and with Duke, of course, it includes Strayhorn. I listened to that a lot when I started writing for a large group, although my music, it's certainly different. I Actually, growing up in New York, I got to see Mingus quite a bit, and I found his music. I could sort of understand in a way his group, his voicings, and the way that he used a large group as a vehicle, beyond just the his tunes. I saw him do that a lot, and it was, it's one thing to listen to records, it's another thing to be in the room. Okay, well, the tune that's in the real book is called "The Next Time I See You," and I've written, relatively a lot of music over the years, and that particular tune came to me or emerged in a way unlike any other piece of music that I've ever written. I'm pretty much of a believer that music is about music. I mean, people, say it's about a mountaintop or it's about a sky, but in a lot of ways it's about notes. The tune "The Next Time I See You" emerged when Wayne Shorter's wife, at the time, he's remarried since then. His wife Anna Maria was killed in a plane crash off Long Island. I had met Wayne at a Buddhist conference of Buddhist artists, and I did not get to meet Anna Maria, but there I had heard a lot about the profundity of their relationship and the deepness of their love, I guess you would say, right? And so without even really knowing her and not knowing him personally well, somehow I was doing the liturgy that we as Buddhists do, and somehow a poem came into my mind, and the poem, which is actually the words that are in the real book for the word, said, "No sad goodbye, love is forever, never say never, passing before my eyes, no long farewell, next time I see you, I might just be you, and you just might be me." And that poem actually came first, and I'm not a poet, and it might not have come out totally full, the way that I said it, but the idea of that, and the idea of the connections that we have with the people that we love, with the people that we don't love, the connections that we have in this life are based on causes and effects we've made for eternity, and the causes we're making now are going to affect our relationships, after this body is gone and maybe we live in another galaxy, or however it works out. I don't know, but I believe that life continues. That I believe for sure. And so I had this little poem which implied a melodic fragment. Da 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 da, no, say goodbye. Da 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 da. That is the genesis of the melody, and the bass line is something that I suppose I was studying at that time, probably for about the 15th year with Dennis Sandoli, and there were certain harmonic things and we would just say tonal issues that I was dealing with then that I'm sure are contained in there. The voicing. And anyway, many people, whenever I play it, the bass line seems to captivate people. I remember when I had the opportunity to go to South Africa to play, and I remember the day we played one of the times we played in a ballroom in this huge place. And the next day, when I saw the guys who were working in the kitchen or something, they started going da 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 da, which I said, that's okay. That was really beautiful. That bass line, I'm not sure exactly where that came from. I was playing with a merengue band at that time, and I remember, while I was working on it, going to a lot of merengue gigs. And although I thought of it as being Brazilian, and so if people want to play the tune, they can think about the playing with even though it's in 7, at least the idea of a samba. It's sort of samba-esque to me, and because Wayne's wife was not Brazilian, but she was Portuguese, and she had a Brazilian connection for sure. Well, tonight is from a musical. It's always special to come play for Jazzbridge. But tonight is really special because I'm getting to play with some people that that I was supposed to play with for 40-something years. When I moved to Philadelphia in 1975, one of the first people I met at a Saturday afternoon jam session with percussionist Ron Howerton took me to, was one of the first people I met was Monette Sudler, who was, just playing so great then. Of course, still playing great. But she was nice enough to be willing to work in a group that I was trying to put together at that time. And I remember we got somebody helped me get a month. I had just moved to the town, so maybe it was a couple of months later. Worked it out that I was going to get a thing every Wednesday, a performance every Wednesday at a club in Germantown where Philly Joe Jones used to play quite a bit, Sonny Murray used to play, called Trey's. I was so excited. I remember we rehearsed. The drummer was a guy named Tommy Burrows. The bass player was Ed Crockett and Monette. And I remember I didn't have a car, and I traveled from West Philly. It took the subway, the trolley, whatever I had to do to get up to Trey's. And I remember I got there, and everybody looked so sad. And the guy who was supposed to pay us the money wasn't there, and all of the other people in the band had been beat by him before. So there was no way that they were going to. I mean, I didn't know, but there was no way that they were going to play. And I've played with Monette a number of times since then, but I don't think we ever did we played at the Youth Studies Center, we played a number of things, but this is real special to have Monette Sudler playing my music. And Diane Monroe has become, started playing with me in 1994 or '95. We did some stuff at the Painted Bride, and she's my frontline partner of choice in the whole wide world. I love to play with Diane Monroe. And Thomas, the drummer, is somebody I've been playing with for 40-something years. And over the last year, we've been rehearsing a lot, just playing duets in his basement. And we've been trying to find the right opportunity to put it into a group context to play for people. So I've been preparing for this with Webb for a long time. And then it comes to the basses. So, bass is always a very important part of my music. There's very complex bass lines that are challenging. And I've had great, used the most, played with Tyrone Brown and Lee Smith and Anthony Tidd and all these great, William Parker, all these great bass players. But today I have a young man who I first played with when he was maybe he was out of high school then, maybe he was just done with college. But I played with Richard Hill in a trio context when I used to do a performance in my barber's basement. We used to play every Friday and Saturday, and Richard did a weekend with me, and we were playing all originals, and it was a trio. There was no piano, there was no place to hide, and I wanted to work with Richard again for a long time, and it hasn't come up. And then the special extra playing second bass or third bass or shortstop, we have Dylan Reese, who I met through work I did at the Clef Club, and I remember he came up to me almost the first time he met me and said, "Can I come to your rehearsal?" And he would sit behind Lee Smith and scare Lee, because Dylan is a very, very curious, brilliant young man, and it worked out to have the two basses. The music is structured so there's two bass lines in every song, and I can't wait to hear what it's going to sound like.